You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who have been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com, and then definitely follow them on Instagram for all the information that you need, because I'm sure that's where you follow us as well, at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down in Oklahoma City today in the GRPFLY house, I guess. That would be the right way to put it.
Yes, I like that. Right in our HQ.
Right at GRPFLY HQ. Vernon Deas is on the podcast with me. Someone who I've really wanted to have on the podcast for a long time because we know a lot of the same people.
Yes.
I always see you out, and I'll see you on social media, and I mean, as someone like myself coming from the UK, I'm a golfer, right? Golfers have a certain style. They're kind of very boring and old. That's kind of changing a little bit. But I always look to people, just you, Les, David's starting to get some style. Got to give David a little bit of banter as well if he's listening. So obviously keep an eye on what you guys are doing, and the t-shirt thing, it's been going well, but it's obviously a lot more than that. But man, thanks for coming on the podcast. Excited to have you, or to be down here and share the GRPFLY story, because since 2008, right? It's been going. So take us all the way back. I want to know where you grew up, all that stuff, and then we'll get into GRPFLY stuff.
Sweet, man. I appreciate you having us on, man. The story for GRPFLY, man. It started out of a lot of passions that I had. Really as an adolescent going into a young man, played basketball my whole life, played sports, very involved with that. And then I got into, when I didn't grow, an extra 6 inches to play for the Georgetown Hoyas. I got my growth stumped at 5'11". I started I just started doing started skateboarding right out of high school. Okay. And, that kind of got me into creative art. That got me into music. Because it was such, at the time, we're talking, late 90s when it was awesome to be alive.
Yeah, so, you're right. Yeah, I was born in 1990, so I kind of got a little bit of that I can remember, right? Just when your mum says go out and play, and it actually meant go out and play and come back before the sun goes down. Yeah. Right? So go out and play on your video games or something.
Right. So in the 90s you had this renaissance of, music, of hip-hop, really, multi-use, creativity. And, fast forward, at the time I was doing youth programming, working with a lot of nonprofits and churches, and I was just like, man, I really want to use everything I love and kind of build a brand from it. And that's when GRPFLY started.
Gotcha.
And GRPFLY started in 2008. My wife is actually my first investor because I told her what I wanted to do. So we had saved up $10,000 for a minivan, and I still love minivans. I always want
the van life.
So the van life is the real life. But so we took that $10,000 and we invested it into GRPFLY. And GRPFLY, by definition, for us means a group of people elevating to a higher destination. So it's a combination of just community, a combination of faith, but and just cool rad stuff. So that's what you'll see, in our brand and everything we do. You'll see all those different elements. You see sports, you'll see action sports, skateboarding, just cool rad stuff, cultural icons. And we just started. And so had no idea, just Googled how to start a clothing brand.
Right.
And I actually went to Rose State to learn how to do graphic design, and just always been an avid learner. And, of course, there's many influences. Of course. But that's kind of how we started. And so just kind of taking what I had and what I knew and just started to activate it.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, it was a lot of magazines were big, right? Yes. You'd look to magazines, you had your core following of magazines that you watch, and you'd always see the skate brands would have a sick magazine spread. Right? An actual, an awesome 2-page spread of a picture of someone flying down the stairs
Absolutely.
or whatever, and there would just be a logo in the corner, but you knew that was was a DC, was just black and white photos or whatever. So you kind of knew that, and I'm sure magazine subscriptions, I tried to skate like everybody else, I think. I wasn't very good at it, but I remember getting a skateboard, and I just wanted to dress like that, ride around like that, Vans weren't a thing in the 90s, right? There was later on they came in, so it was a lot of other stuff. But yeah, you're right. That's a cool time to be alive, wasn't
Right.
it? It was cool.
Right.
Music was good.
Music was insane.
Yeah.
I'm such a purist on that, on the music. I still have a hard time leaving that era. You came in today. I'm listening to 90s hip hop. This is, I don't know, but I am appreciative of the new music.
Right.
But it's just not as good as the 90s. I'm just sorry guys.
Yeah.
You're cool, but
It's you're not that cool.
Yeah.
So growing up, you're in the skate scene, or you're in all these other scenes, and kind of just vision to start a brand. You Google it. Who are those early inspirations that make you think? For me, we just chatting now before setting up, and thankfully the guys here set up an awesome setup. If you're watching this video, this is not mine. The Group Fly team has done a great job of making us look really good today. Thank you very much.
Tori and Tony, shout out to them.
For me, I base This Is Oklahoma off a few different things, right? And I'm sure Group Fly, you kind of draw from different things. Right. What were those different things that you drew from early on?
I think the biggest thing is my faith, because I always want to be, someone that encourages and empowers. So I'm an ordained minister. I've been, I was a youth pastor at 19. But just wanting to serve people. So that was the first thing first, and then secondly would be I would have to say. There's this rad dude that I grew up with. His name is Brandon Wilson, and right now, he's designed for Burton snowboards, multiple high level deals. But he was a graphic designer, and I was like, how are you doing this? I was a rapper too.
Back when graphic design was really hard to learn too, right?
Well, it was crazy. It
was really hard.
It was right when that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so he was also the creative director for a local skate shop called Ride Forever.
Okay.
And he was a huge influence. So he had a brand called Elysium. And that just was the coolest thing ever. You go into the skate shop and just see the branding and see all the things that he did. And this, he was designing skate decks, and this is just I was like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah.
And didn't know what it was. It's called graphic design, but I kind of put that in my back pocket. And then also the other influence would be just music. The album covers, the clothing. You had at that time, man, you had there's a brand called NYC, Billionaires Boy Club, with Pharrell, all this stuff is coming out. You got Rockaware coming out, and then you got FUBU, you got all these different brands, and parallel with the skate brands that I love, like Shorties and World Industries, all these cool, skate brands, and it was just so you had all this emerging subculture, underground, underground hip hop was a big thing for me as well, and so all those things were, along with my faith, and want to do something positive and use this vehicle. That's really the crux of Group Fly, and that's and if you really look back, a lot of the industry leaders are from that area. You look at Virgil, you look at Kanye, you look at Pharrell. We're all born in the '70s.
Yeah.
We all grew up at that same time. So it's I call it the code, and me and my friends call it the cloth. There's a special DNA that I think I could tap into that other. It's just because I got to see it all.
Yeah,
I got to see Tribe Called Quest. I got to see Wu-Tang when it came out. I got to see when Snoop Dogg made the Chronic, and that was all. I got Tupac. I was there when he was popping. I was there when he got shot. We saw all that.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel like that's the bedrock for a lot of creative culture today, and shouts out to the new generation that are taking the baton and running with it. But when I saw Virgil, who he talks of the same things that I talk about, and he's the head of Louis Vuitton, I'm like, what a time to be alive, bro. I'm 40. I just turned 43, and I get to do this every day. This is my job.
Right.
I get to dabble in the streetwear. I get to help creatively with other brands and organizations, whatever. But I just tripped me out.
Yeah.
So, but that would be the influence. That would be the crux.
So when you went to Rose State, what was the decision to go to Rose State? And at that time in your life, were you thinking, you knew exactly what you wanted to do after you graduated? Were you already in the group fly thing?
I will tell you that this is totally a Vernism. And so at the time I was youth pastoring. So I grew up in church, it was a big deal. But the church that I grew up in, we make a skate park, we do hip hop concerts, so totally hey, you do what you do, but just do it for the Lord and just impact many people you can. So a
lot of energy.
Yeah, a lot of energy. Let me do whatever. So I moved down here in 2001 to take over a youth ministry, and I was making amazing flyers off of Microsoft Publisher.
Gotcha.
But I just couldn't. Yeah, I'm looking at these magazines, Mike. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at these commercials. I'm looking at these album covers. I'm like, how are they doing that?
Yeah.
And so I just again just Googled and just researched how do you do stuff like that? Well, it's called Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop, and at that time, it was what is this thing?
Yeah.
And so that's why I went to Rose State, because I wanted to make cool flyers. I wanted to make cool concert flyers. I wanted to make cool graphics, album covers. And literally, I said, all I need to know is just teach me what these tools do, and I'll take it from there. So I went there, and I was I was just entrenched with it. And honestly, I did a semester, learn what to do, turn back around, and then our first album cover, I write, you had JB on your show, so we had a group called Little Earth, and so literally that album cover, which is that album cover is such a mind-blowing thing, because we were the first underground hip hop type of group that came with a full, we had the SKU, we had a full, spread on the deal. So we were flexing on everybody, Mike, and wow, that's why.
Well,
so
also, people listening might not know that when you used to get an album or a CD, it wasn't just the cover was you pulled it out, and it was, like you said, it was a spread.
Yeah,
right?
when we did that, that took us to the top. Man, we were our album was called Live from Earth, and so I did a whole photo shoot in the downtown bus station, made it look like we were on Mars.
Yeah,
and I think that year we won best hip hop group in OKC from the Gazette. So you know what?
Oh yeah, you were flying high at that point.
But at the same time, that's kind of the preparation for Group Fly. Gotcha. So that was just doing things beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
Because people are how do you do this?
Right.
It's
we've never seen this
Illustrator.
Before. Yeah.
They never seen that. So so that's been a thing within me. Just to create and just try to do it outside the box, try to do it excellent. So.
Right, so that happens.
Right.
You're working as a youth pastor at this point, doing the hip hop thing.
Yeah.
Thinking the hip hop thing's going to take off, or are you thinking right? Because me speaking as a golfer's experience, when I was in college, I was I'm going to be a professional golfer and make millions of dollars. I would travel the world, right?
Like honestly,
5 years later, I'm still here.
Right.
But I love what I do, thankfully.
In that time, really, it was just we wanted to blow up and do that, but I don't know if that was the goal for me. And then, honestly, throughout time, so 2001, 2005, I'm still working with nonprofits and urban ministry. And then I got to a place where in 2008, I just turned 30. It's man, I really want to create a platform to where I can just be totally creative and I can impact people. So that's when I started Group Fly.
That's when Group Fly came.
Yeah. So, but it was a combination of all those years of, being in culture, rapping, touring with my guy JB. And I found out, man, I really don't want to be a rapper because I can't remember all those lyrics. So I started
that fast.
So I started making beats after that. So I went from rapper to beats, which is totally, that's a Vernism too. So behind the scene, and then I just took that same formula that I used for our merch and our CDs, and I was man, I'm just gonna just make awesome merch, and awesome garments. So we can call it Group Fly, make my own brand. If Jay-Z could do it, I could do it.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah. So when you pitch your wife, she said she's your first investor.
Right.
What was the pitch? What do you say to her? What was that moment like?
I said, I got an idea. You know what I'm saying? I know.
She's another one.
right.
That's exactly what my wife says too.
And I was here's something. I want to start a brand because, at the time I was doing I was like a keynote speaker, so I'd go out and speak to different churches, and I was rapping and doing all this other stuff. I was like, man, I really just want to have one thing that I could just pitch and just be it. And she was like, "Hey man, let's do it. I think it'll reach people. I think it'll help people and encourage people." So we did it, and you know, we went out and made a couple designs, did a photo shoot, made like lookbooks. So like, I don't know what I was doing. I was going to different shops. Hey, you want to carry my T-shirts? Yeah, sure. I'm like, cool. That was easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, just traveling to different sneaker shows, hip hop concerts, and so instead of being the rapper, I was like, no, I'm just a clothing line guy.
The
so
merch guy, yeah.
So I was like in back of all the concerts, selling my gear, you know, giving it to people on the video shoot. Just really following the playbook that you know, I was like, I saw the guy from Fubu did that, so I just started doing that.
Right.
You know? And so setting up skate parks, you know, going to skate shops, and you know, it was just a thing, and it began to grow gradually. And I was still, you know, at the time I was doing a nonprofit at the time. But so it's still like a side gig, and then it wasn't until like, you know, 2008 to where not 2008 but 2010 I was like, man, I want to do this full time. And we just, you know, I reached out to a couple of people for investment, and this is a crazy story. Shout out to my boy Trent Ward, and I had a meeting with him. I only wanted like 50 grand, you know, like 50 grand, take it to the next level. My homeboy Trent comes back, hey, talk to my wife, like, what about 200,000? You know, and at that time I had $100 in my bank account. You know, that's a whole backstory to that. But so it was just like, man, it's just proving if you believe in something, if the man upstairs putting something in your heart to do, like follow that passion, follow that dream, because you like just beat that drum. And I got a million stories like that. You know, as the economy goes, like just, I mean, sometimes I don't even know how we're still doing this, but at that point, it just took off. And so, like, I think we got into Zoomies. A couple years later, we had our first flagship downtown, which I drove by that spot today. It's right across McNally's.
Okay.
Like right in the what's that called?
Midtown.
Midtown.
Yeah.
And so,
like where Kaiser's is,
right
across the street,
right across the street from McAllister. Yeah.
Is
so
it,
we're right in it.
Where that little like roundabout
right north of that.
Okay. Yeah. Where like Plant is and all that kind of thing is. Right. I got you. Yeah.
And so like, and I had no idea what I was doing. Like I had no idea about sell through. Like I think the first day we made like 12 grand in like 4 hours. Like, what is this? Sold out the whole store. I'm like, oh man,
this is gonna be great.
Yeah, but I didn't even know like, oh, I might want to restock the store.
People are gonna come knocking tomorrow and expect stuff.
Like, so it was just like I had no idea what I was doing. You know, but that's life. You know.
Yeah, that's another great lesson, though, isn't it? It's like if you believe in something and you know you have something, even though you might not know what you're doing, figure it out and go at it, right? Like you learn from your mistakes and you learn from those lessons, and your fan base still keeps coming back.
But I also know this, after like being in this for 12 years, like nobody knows what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you start something and then you figure out the next step, and so that was a huge fear for me. I mean, there like I can remember having like 200 grand in the bank and just terrified to get on an airplane. Yeah, I had different people come out and see me. I want to work with you. I'll help you out. Just terrified to come on an airplane because I didn't want to like blow the money. And so that's a whole nother story, a whole nother thing. But just like people don't think about that. Like
growing up, like I didn't grow up with money, right? So like the same thing, right? When you have some money in the bank that's a significant amount to what you thought of growing up, like obviously your perspective changed when you grow up, but when you're a kid and you're like, wow, I have $1,000 or I have $200,000 or whatever it is in the bank, and you're right, like first instinct for me is like spend it, right? I want a car, I want a Porsche, I want whatever, like, you know, what can I spend this on, and then we'll go back to zero and we'll figure it out. But I can imagine that, like having that money and be like, I'm not realizing or not even thinking how it actually happened, right? You get to that stage like, how did we get here? What happened? Like you just write it down and think, okay, I followed every step and now I have $200,000 in the bank.
Right. So it's just like, but here's the deal, like failing is good. Yeah. You know, failing is super good if you learn from it, of course, but like, and so that, and when I look back at that story, like, man, I had to go through all that so that I could get to this point of like, progressing and having a calm hand and still like, growing incrementally and building team, and it comes back to like you can't do it all your own. This is not sustainable.
Yeah.
You got to have people you trust, and there's so much in there, man. Like, Mike, I should write. I hear myself talk. I should write a book. You know what I'm saying? I should write a book.
Yeah. Just give it little audio memos, like just chapter 1, and go by year and see maybe figure it out.
How to blow 200,000, chapter 1.
So take to that moment, right? Everything goes nuts. You blowing up, literally, like everything is going crazy, and you get to that point that you think, "Wow, we've made it." Right? You have $200,000 in the bank, and Nick, what happens after that? Like, what year is this? What happens next? Like,
I think there's a lot. There's a lot of different things that happen next. So we begin to like, just expand. So like we got our own in-house production. I brought on some of my homies, and like nobody in there knew what they were doing, but we were having a good time doing it. But we just began to we got into a national retailer Zoomies. Shout out to my boy Dakota if you're watching. He helped us get in there. That's a crazy story how we got into that. But just began to learn the business, and some of it was carnage. Some of it was like, man, this is really cool getting these big POs, and through that is when also we began to kind of like develop. We started doing like side projects with other entities and businesses, and really I spent I think it was about $80K on a like cut and sew line. So cut and sew is like basically it's clothes, like custom clothes, like your pants, your jeans. Like somebody thought of that pattern. They went and got the fabric. They sewed it together. Yeah. They got it to a sales rep, took it to a store. That sales guy sold it to the buyer, and then it got on the rack. So that's like cut and sew. So we did like, I flew out to New York a couple times and met my good friend Eugene, and we came up with this amazing custom cut and sew premium line. So it was like, we had like, Letterman jackets that had the sleeves had like, it was like having like a premium like Italian like handbag on a jacket. It was stupid. And so we did this whole lineup, cost us $80,000, sold it to a couple stores, and in the cycle, once you once you put that investment on, like you sell it, then you go into production. That's a whole nother deal. And so when we went into production, we didn't have. We had somebody guarantee the money for production. Yeah. So I spent all that money thinking that, okay, cool, I sold it to the stores. Now it's time to produce. Now I need to get this other investment. Yeah. When it was time for that, the investment kind of fell through because it was like the economy went down. Yeah. So basically I lost $80,000. So think about how many T-shirts you can make for $80,000.
That's a lot of T-shirts.
That's a lot of T-shirts, my brother.
That's a lot of T-shirts.
It's a part of the game,
right?
And so we recouped, and then that's when I had my first shop downtown. That lasted a couple of months, and then I had somebody approach me about expanding. Here I am back on a plane, back to LA, back to New York, buying from my new shop, and that thing blew up. And so just, really in 2015, I went from having like possibly 2 locations, fully kitted out, like with my dream brands, to like nothing. Yeah. And so, and that's when you're faced with, do I keep on fighting for this dream, or should I just go get a gig and quit? And
pack it in, get a marketing job somewhere.
So I'm literally in my garage, bro. Yeah. Just thinking of what I'm gonna do. What do I know? I know T-shirts, I know apparel. So I just begin to call people. Hey, you need T-shirts made? Yeah. Hey, you need somebody to design something? And slowly but surely, we started like what we know today as GRPFLY Creative. That's our agency. So now GRPFLY Creative is like what we do.
Okay. So that's how you pivoted into not just making money from what you sell, merchandise, but it's using your knowledge from the past to help and add back to what you said earlier. Being a pastor is adding value.
And so it's like, went from, literally working out of my garage in Oklahoma heat, no AC, to, we dug ourselves out of that. Yeah. And eventually got back to some retail. But basically to this day, like we work with Sanders Energy. We've done all the Life Church, a lot of Life Church stuff. We've done Transformation Church, which is like they just bought the Spirit Center in Tulsa. huge like Fortune 500 companies. If I told you the names we work with, man, you'd be like, what? But that's kind of what we do now, and through that brought the brand. That gave us the revenue and resources to bring back the brand.
Gotcha.
And so now I would say, like, it's 2021. Like, we had a record year where we I doubled. I don't want to say numbers, but like, that investment. Right. We killed that number. Good. So I'll just put it like that. Awesome. We killed that number, but it's just like, it's a testament to, like, to having good people around you, to believing if God puts something in your heart to do, like, you got to see it through. Yeah. Even when it sucks, because dude, it really did suck.
I'm sure. When you go from making it, right? It's just like literally skyrocket to loving life, traveling around the country, meeting all these people, and having amazing Italian brands on your arms, all this stuff, right? Like,
it was great.
And then you're like, now what do I have? Now I'm in my garage in Oklahoma with no AC. Yeah. You're making shirts and you don't need an iron anymore because it's so hot because the shirts come out and they're fresh already.
It was so hot in there, but like, when I think about today, and that's why, like, I'm so passionate. Like, I think this next pivot for us, Mike, is like, I really feel, and this is real time right here. So I really feel like, for me personally, as I grow my team, I just brought on a GM. His name is Tony, and Tony Foster Jr. He's a crazy vocalist, good dude, but he's kind of overseeing my operations. But I think the next pivot for me is, like, I want to create a space for the next Vernons.
Gotcha.
And I really feel like I went through that carnage so I can help somebody else direct them on what to do. So I have a huge dream. And it's to build an infrastructure, almost to build a destination space where creatives and, artists alike can come, have a place, office, have resources to create, and then, almost have like a destination spot for retail, entertainment, food, drink, whatever. Right. But it's all in this creative, like, ecosystem to where, people are thriving. And so and then more than that, I want to coach people. I just want to just be able to be like, hey, let's talk about your business. Right. How can I help? We started a nonprofit called Urban Bridge, and it's basically to do things, and we're going to bridge the opportunity gap for minorities, through investment and venture. And also we have an outreach arm through that called The Bridge. On the east side, we got a right off of Martin Luther King, 18th Martin Luther King, we have a youth center called The Bridge, led by Marcus Jackson, who also is a co-founder of Urban Bridge, to where we're just really, like, being a bridge of hope for young people and helping them learn financial literacy, helping them to have a safe environment, helping them get a meal, help them that, there's even, they can go in there and have, like, speak to a counselor and just we can walk through things together. So, that's the pivot. And so, like, but I realized this, Mike, I had to go through all that.
You've got to. Yeah, you can't just, you're right. You have to go through all that, and because you can draw from all that knowledge, and when someone comes to you and you're like, hey, I know exactly how you feel because I've been through it.
I've been in the garage.
I've literally been there. Like, I've gone from flying to LA and New York to being in my, like, I know how it is, which is great because then they respect you, right? And rather than some kid coming in or guy coming in or whatever it is that's just like, that sees right through you. That's the last thing you want. You teased the Zoomy story earlier. Tell me about that, because we've got time.
Okay, so, all right.
Because I'm sure people listening are like, we want to hear that stuff.
All right, so the cool part, at the time, I brought on a young guy. His name is Dakota Watson. He's an incredible creative. He's out in Cali right now, living his best life, doing photography. But at the time, he was a store manager at Zoomies. What Zoomy does every year, they do, like, it's called the 100K. Okay. So whatever employee sells 100K of merchandise from the store, they get flown out to Colorado for this huge party, And so at the time, I think Dakota was, like, kind of interning for me. He wasn't fully on staff with me at the time. He goes, man, give me a couple of shirts. I just want to see if I can, like, talk to somebody about getting your gear in Zoomies because it's sick. You should be in this store. Like, cool. So I gave him a stack of T-shirts. And Dakota is such a he has zero fear. So he ended up at the poker table at this event. I think Lil Wayne came out there. They pulled out all the shops for for their staff and for the people that all the sales reps. And so Dakota found himself literally at a poker table playing poker with the owner of Zoomies and like the co-founder and then like the head buying rep.
Right.
And so, I gave him a stack of cards with our branding on it, and I gave him a bunch of shirts. He goes, dude. So he's like, I asked him, where are you from? I'm from Oklahoma. You know what? Dude, I got this brand out here that's killing it out here. And you should check them out. You guys need to pick them up. They're blowing up. And he gave him a card and gave him like a shirt. They looked it up. And he came back. He goes, yeah, I think Zoom's going to call you. And like the next week they called. Yeah. They put in like this ungodly order. This order was like,
when he comes back and he says they're going to call you, you're like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, whatever, bro.
Sure. Yeah.
I get this call I get this California number, and it's the buyer, and he puts his. The order was like, I think the first order was like $25K. Yeah. But here's the thing: people don't understand. That sounds awesome.
That's a test order for them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so here's the deal: like you work, that's at wholesale pricing, right? And so basically, of that $20K, like your cost is roughly going to be about like maybe 10, 11,000 because you got to get it produced and then ship it out. Yeah, it's got to be bagged right. You got to meet all these different requirements. But they just kept on coming. I remember they came so much one time. Like I was like, man, I feel like we're not like moving units like we normally do. Well, I forgot to send an invoice for it was like $40,000 worth of invoices. I never had to invoice anybody, Mike. Yeah. And so I literally had like $40,000 worth of like money just sitting in my inbox. So man, we're kind of light this month. There's like 40 grand in the in the inbox. So it's just like just learn just simple things like we went from just like. Literally, the GRPFLY way, the Vernonism, like we would literally pack up our vehicles, go to an event, set up our little pop-up shop, and just do cash transactions all day, and do the PayPal swipe, whatever, and kind of go to the next level of corporate where you have you got to send in an invoice and then
wait 30 to 90 days to get it.
Yes, and that killed me. So
I'm dealing with that now with the podcast. It drives me nuts.
Yeah,
and it's not that much money as well. Like it's like a couple $100, and I'm like, I'm waiting on it.
Right. So she float all that money out.
Oh yeah.
And then you're waiting. I think ours was a net 60. Yeah. So 60 days. You're like, oh, it's just painful as a small business. And I didn't know that. And at this time, my banker failed to tell me that if I had brought the invoice, we would have loaned you the money. Like, really? You would have?
Yeah. Thanks.
That would have helped out. Yeah. But again, just learning terms and all that. But that's why I'm here to help the next person. You need a book.
There's so many stories here, and I'm just like, I know that, people listening, will direct them to what you do every Friday and all the stuff, and if they're not already fans, obviously. But yeah, you got to have a series just telling old stories, man, because there's so many.
I just feel like a book. I need to write a book. Yeah. I know I can't write. I got to find somebody to write it for me.
Yeah. So excited about obviously this new pivot and transition, and I guess it probably, the clothing side for you now is like a release, a getaway.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like it's like, I get to go do this and I know exactly what I'm doing. I get to hang out. I get to go pop-up shop, meet people. And that's what you love to do. Right. But the pivot is where the real work comes in, right? It's the, the creative stuff. Right. And it's not just clothing. There's so much other stuff in creative, isn't there? Right. So how's that going? What's the plans for this year? What do you think?
Well, I think last year, 2019 was like our record year for us, and I knew like my main goal in 2020 was to kind of like start to build a team, because I'm just like I'm brokering deals, kind of doing arbitrage and stuff, like getting in stuff, selling it back, but it almost brought me literally like I came into 2020 like on fumes. And I was like, man, I got to build a team. I got to get people around me. And so, a lot of people don't know this, but in June, let me backtrack. I signed. I started another company called Propel, and which was awesome because it was incredible. And then COVID happened, so I signed this deal in February. COVID happened. It's like, oh man. So that company didn't have a long life. Yeah. And then June, like I was painting at my house, and I felt myself kind of like losing my balance. Like I woke up the next day, the room was spinning, and then like I just threw up over everything, and then like I literally like was down, like I couldn't like I think my equilibrium went out. like it's kind of like had vertigo symptoms. I was like, well, I'll just sleep it off. Well, 2 days happened, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, a week, and I had like it wasn't getting any better. So I don't know if it was like, you know, people said
serious fatigue,
or like even maybe COVID in my head. But literally, I was out June, July. I was like bedridden. I couldn't walk, couldn't drive, and I was like, I need to build a team. so like I was like, so we made it through. You know, I don't know how we made it through, but we made it through that time.
That's a huge step, building a team, though, because I'm early on in my podcast process and building, you know, the brand and stuff, and I'm like, man, I got to invest and build a team, and it's something that like it makes me nervous thinking about it, and I'm sure people have been through that or are thinking about it, right? You get to that stage where you've got to invest to grow. Right. All the organic growth is now gone. Right. But you still have something. So I'm sure that wasn't an easy decision. Yeah,
and like it, you know, at this stage in the game, like early on, it's like nerve wracking because you don't, you know, you got resources and all that. But now, like, I had to because I just knew, like, you know, with being married, having 3 kids, and wanting to be there for my family, and then also just wanting to be here physically, mentally, and spiritually. I couldn't do it. Yeah. I would say, like, dude, you can't afford not to, you know, and so. You know, right now, like, you know, our plan for 2021 is to really get into a space to where, you know, we can put people on the team where they're just humming in their own giftings and talents. And then at the same time, like, we're able to, me personally, able to look at the high level stuff, the high level partnerships. So, you know, I think for Group Fly, like, on the clothing side, on the brand aspect, you know, we want to continue to expand that. You know, we brought in a lot of production house. We do digital printing now. Also have a partnership with an incredible production house in South Oklahoma, and so like so you'll see Group Fly begin to really get back to some crazy heights. But on the creative side, I want to start doing brand strategy. Branding for entities, and then also apparel. Like, we just do that in our sleep, right? But just really help people expand and really push them to go to the next level. So whether that be, you know, website design, videography, photography, whatever creative medium that you need, like, we want to be able to speak to that, and we want to be able to build a team to speak to that. So, you know, there's no way personally that I could do that, but I know what connects. And so, you know, right now we're talking with people that are just teachable, that have that talent, and, you know, we want to see them expand. We want to see them grow in their personal business, but we want to build a platform through Group Fly Creative to where creatives can come on. Yeah, use the resources and if needed. Yeah. And so I think the next step for us is, like, you know, we've made this space work. You know, then, I mean, if I'm speaking candidly, I know right now we're actively looking for a larger space, you know, because we've got to expand. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, but this space has been amazing. This is way better. This was the space after the garage. Yeah. And, like, this space was, this is the space that literally got us back on our feet and got us into the, you know, where we're not scared about our bills anymore. Yeah. You know, so, like, it's like food on the table, we're all good. Right. Yeah. So we're feeling good. So, like, now, but, you know, now we gotta, I know that the next step for us is just expanding. And I think it just comes through, you know, I think it started with me personally just being at peace with myself and being like, you know, like, you can't do this on your own. Yeah. You got to expand. You got to grow. So, like, yeah. You mentioned collaborations and stuff. I know you guys, was it Thunder recently collaborated with? You got obviously the stuff with Red Coyote as well. But tell me about, you know, some of the collaborations that you've been focusing on and building a brand through collaborating as well. Yeah, one of our good friends, she is it's actually JB's girlfriend. She's amazing, and so. I know her Instagram. I just had a brain freeze. Francie, thank you. Francie, forgive me. I have to, your family. So Francie is she's on like the board, or she's on a high level with Team. And Team's a great nonprofit that really serves teenagers of their parents are incarcerated. So it's amazing. And so the Thunder teamed up with them, and they came in and like, hey, we're gonna come in and we're gonna get some stuff for the young people. Well, basically what she meant to say is like, we're going to come in and buy out your whole store.
Literally buy everything, yeah.
And so like, we were so excited to be a part of that deal. So they literally, we had a lot of back stock ready for the holidays, and it was gone. It was gone. And but it made me so happy because I know that those kids would be stoked to get this gear. And so that was a cool thing. Shout out to Francie, shout out to Team, shout out to the Thunder for making that happen. And so that's probably one of the highlights of 2020, be able to be a part of that. And then I'm a basketball like junkie, man. Yeah. I mean, I love it, man. I'm watching the NBA every night. Huge Melo fan, like old and new, but and then that was huge. Right. So like that's a dream of mine. Like that's a dream of mine to like work with like an NBA team, or like with branding. That's a goal of mine. It's like to get our brand, kind of at a level to where we need to do a collaboration. And so a couple of my buddies already beat me there. I got a buddy in Dallas who's already beat me there. Like he did a whole collaboration with the Mavericks. It was insane. I was like, I want to do that so bad.
Yeah, but you're in the right group of friends, right?
Right. So we just got to keep on just being excellent.
Yeah. What other collaborations have you done, and some that like are really important to you, and just some that stand out? I mean, I'm sure they're all important, but like ones that highlight, like the Thunder and other ones.
I think another huge one, a life-changing one, was to work with Mike Todd and his creative team at Transformation. He's done stuff like. He's amazing. So like he's an amazing communicator. That church is like amazing. Like they did like, I think he spoke at one of the Sunday services for Kanye. And so we did their conference merch in 2019, and that was a special moment because it wasn't a ridiculous amount of merch. So I'm driving a box truck to Tulsa, and so that was pretty awesome. And then after that, in 2010, I believe. 2010, we did remember the NBA lockout, and so we did. It was supposed to be a charity game between Kevin Durant and Blake Griffin, which Blake Griffin was, Kevin. They were like blowing up. So the KD shoe was out, so like LeBron was there, Melo, Chris Paul, who else? Of course, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and so like. And we did all the merch for the arena. Yeah. And so I'm literally in the locker room, like making these group like gift bags. They're all. I mean, they're in the locker room. Yeah. LeBron, what I'm saying? LeBron's jersey is right there. And then I'm down. Like I've got full access to the whole stadium. So I'm watching the game, and I'm like right there. Yeah. Met Leo Chang. Leo Chang is the head of Nike basketball. Okay. And so. Was able to build a relationship with him, and then it was unreal. So that right there was like, I guess I could say I have worked with.
It's a pinch you moment, though, isn't it?
It was
it's
crazy.
Just like there's this really happening right now,
and that right there, and that moment right there also just kind of took us to another level as well. But that was one of the. I don't think I slept up to the game. I probably was up for like 72 hours straight. Yeah. So like, I was just like on adrenaline the whole game. I think I just passed out out there literally. Yeah. But that was like one of the, I'm glad I started a clothing brand.
Right. We've made it again. That's the thing, right? And that's the people listening will understand that like you've gone through 18 years of business, that it's an up and down the whole time, right? Success is never a straight line. Right. And it's just having that, the confidence and just knowing that if I'm going to keep doing this, keep doing it, I am going to get those breakthroughs, those big moments with the church, with Transformation, with Top My, with all this other stuff, the Thunder, and that just, it elevates you another level, doesn't it? Right. But you can't put in all those hours. You're not going to get it without putting in all those hours, and that's what people need to understand.
It's so true, man. Yeah, it's so true. Like I even feel that even to this moment now. I just feel like, there's. I mean, there's a lot more to be done. I was thinking, just writing stuff down today, like there's still that level of hunger that we gotta have, and so like, and I think, and that starts with me. You know, I gotta stay hungry. If I'm not hungry, then the rest of the team ain't gonna be hungry. They'll be like, oh man, I think we're cool.
Yeah.
But like, I just gotta have that hunger. Like, man, there's greater out there still, and so I don't ever want to lose that. But I mean, again, you know, I know for me personally, there's, you know, you can't run that hard. You can't run. I can't run like I did when I was 29, 30 and just stay up all night. Like, I have to be in bed by 8:30 or I'm no good. Like, I'm like, or on the way, you know.
Well, you have 3 kids too.
Yeah. Like, I can't. I'm no, you know what I'm saying? So like, and then, you know, part of the partnership with the Red Coyote, like, got to start taking care of my health and, you know, getting right there. So, you know, maybe I need to jump back on, dust off my bike and get out there, man, and just suck wind out there. Oh,
it's easier. It's much easier on the bike than it is running. I find that anyway. It's easier on your knees, I guess.
Right.
For the older generation.
Right.
Well, mate, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'll finish with this. If you get one collaboration, who's it with?
Man, it would. Okay, so it's a tie.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would. It's in the arena of basketball, but it would be either like Jordan or Adidas, because like, I mean, really, I go between both, you know, like, but leaning more towards to the Jordan brand. I would love to do a collab with Jordan, and number one, just to be in that Nike train of thought. But then I really love Adidas. Adidas always kind of been my first love, kind of. But
that was his first love too, right?
Huh?
Jordan they turned him down, didn't they?
Right. So like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. But like Adidas with Jerry Lorenzo, Kanye, and all those guys over there, like, that's pretty awesome over there. And so it would be like, you know, either or. I'd be stoked, but like probably leaning more towards Jordan. I'm just a huge Jordan fan, and I love their I just love their brand. But you know, the cool factor is like that Adidas is a monster, man. Yeah. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
And
it's constantly reinvented, isn't it? It's so good to watch. And I mean, that's me looking at it from not having the vision that you have it. And I said, oh, this stuff's really cool. I mean, my dad still wears his Sambas, you know?
Adidas?
Yeah.
Dude, that was like I wanted, like, that was a shoe.
Black ones with like the kind of, the sole or whatever.
I bought my daughter a pair last year, but that shoe was like I obsessed over that shoe because it was weird. Like growing up in Kansas City, like soccer was a deal. Right. You know, it was in the indoor soccer thing. That Samba was like, I love that shoe. Yeah. So he still wears them?
He still wears them. Yeah, he's got a black pair, and they actually came out with like a pair of golf shoes that looked exactly like the Sambas, but they just have golf spikes on them. Nice. Oh, it's sick. We could talk about that for hours too. But no, I think for everyone listening, I mean, thank you so much for coming on. How can everyone find you? How can everyone get a part? How can someone be a part of the team or ask for your advice?
Yeah, you can find us at our two different spots. Our retail offering is GRPFLY.com, and so it's basically Group Fly without all the vowels. And then, our creatives, on our creative side, you can look us up at Group Fly Creative. That's GRPFLY Creative. And if you have a project or anything, hit up me at Vernon at groupfly.com or Tony, our GM, and probably be quicker if you hit up Tony. It's being real. But Tony, TONY at GRPFLY.com. And we're on all social media platforms, GRPFLY. That's GRPFLY. And man, Mike, thank you so much for having us on, man. This has been an awesome experience, and I'm so glad that you're able to come to our space, man. This is awesome.
This is sick. For everyone listening, thanks so much. I'll post the links down below so you can click on them right away and get some merch and get some ideas and get some information. But thanks for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
This podcast was presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who've been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.